or a hypnotherapist? What do you need to know? That's what we're going to be talking about today. And there's a lot of things you need to know, but we're only going to talk about 3 things that you need to know, as long as, Mr. Ramsey is going to look at the camera and participate with me. It's
I got
Friday.
this is what's happened. It's a blessing and a curse. I was telling you before, I've had the coolest week. Like my small business mentorship, they're like crushing it, and like other cool things are happening. But what's coming along with that is constantly people are pinging me because they're all excited too, right? All these people doing different things. So they're like constantly, Facebook's pinging, my phone is pinging, everything's lighting up. I got everything turned down the best I could, but sorry, it's just grabbing me sometimes. How's your Friday?
I don't know what to do with it. I don't know. I just give up. I give up. So what we want to talk to you about today is, before we get started with the 3 things that you guys need to know about hiring a marketing agency or an engagement marketing agency or a hypnotherapist or a coach or mentors. There are 3 things that we're going to share with you. But there's something super, super cool that's happening right now that you might not be aware of. And so we want to share it with you. If you guys have not yet heard about the All-In Challenge, it's a cool challenge to raise money. So far, they've raised about $18 million to provide food for those in need, kids, elderly, and the frontline heroes. And there are really, really a lot of cool things that you can win here. Most of them are access to stuff, access to game, access to people. So it's super cool. And if you guys have heard about the feud between the Reynolds and the Jackmans, I'm going to share with you a very fun video that will show you what is going on in the world of Hollywood. So let me bring that in. And make sure that you guys can hear it. Make it big, make it big, make it big. And make sure that you guys can hear it. Here we go.
People think it started with us. Well, it didn't.
No. The Jackmans and Reynolds have been mortal enemies for as long as there have been Jackmans and Reynoldses.
For generations, it's been a point of family honor to oppose each other.
We start a gin company.
And we start a coffee company.
Together, we start a war.
Because gin is for the weak.
That's right, asshole. And coffee is for sleepy people. In fact, there's only one thing that we do agree on.
Friends is a
Hawaiian
really
pizza.
good show.
Well, for one day, and one day only, we've agreed to not disagree. And only a pandemic could make that happen.
Yep, we've agreed to join the All-In Challenge.
We've agreed to the All-In Challenge.
We'll stop our feud for one day and help sell a different type of drink.
Lemonade. At your child's lemonade stand.
That's right. All to help fight food insecurity.
Because no one deserves to go hungry. Just go to this
So go to this
URL.
website.
It's a URL. Nobody calls it a web... Sorry. We're doing this. Here we go, guys. We're doing this. The guy's such a fucking asshole.
So if you guys are interested in a lot of cool stuff there are access to CEOs. I think, what's his name? The guy from Shark Tank, the owner of the...
Oh, Mark Cuban
is giving away access to him. And I think you're going to play on the court with other people. Gary Vaynerchuk is doing like a fantastic tour and $25,000 in wine and access to like a whole week access to his team. Fantastic things. It starts with like $10. So you can just go to the All-In Challenge, pay $10 and get a raffle ticket. And who knows, you will help the hungry people, feed the hungry. 18 million is pretty much, it's a lot, right?
It's a lot. It's a great,
lot.
that's, I love
Really nice.
examples like that show what we can really do when we decide things are important.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So hop on in, take a chance, see what happens during the weekend. You can watch a lot of those videos, have fun with them. So let's dive into what you need to know before you hire an engagement marketing strategy company or a hypnotherapist. So, so let's start with you, Paul. Let's start with your first one. Pam, pam, pam. What is it that you actually want to achieve or experience?
So this is, I think, over the years, I've learned like we often need to have a little first effort to create clarity around what it is that we really want. People tend to get so focused on what they don't want that they actually frame their outcomes in terms of what they don't want, right?
Right.
So like people will say, I just don't want to be I don't want to be unhealthy anymore, or I don't want to be stressed anymore, or or when they do, or when they do phrase it in terms of what they do want, they use too broad of a term. Like they'll say, I just want to be happy. You go, yeah, but what is that? Like, what is happy? How do you know when you have it? How would you actually know you have the thing you think you want to have? What are the criteria? So I think that's a really important part of, of starting, because otherwise you probably, there's a good chance that the hypnotist in my case, or the consultant, the marketing consultant in Ifat's case, is going to end up disappointing you if they don't get you there. Because if you don't know what the deliverable really is, how are you going to get it?
Right. Yeah, that's a fantastic point. And you're right. We usually focus on the bad, right? Like, I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be. And I think who said that? Mother Teresa. I think she said, "I'm not against war. I'm pro peace." Right. And so that's right. So that's kind of like a way of saying what you want. Yeah.
Human beings have evolved. It makes sense. Human beings have evolved to be focused on threat assessment.
Yeah.
Right. So what helps us survive is to really be scanning all the time for threats that we should move away from. And so I think that's so ingrained in how we cognitively process that, of course, it's going to come through in other ways that, again, ultimately are to help us survive, but aren't necessarily the most adaptive ways for thinking about our lives, right? So if we can use this beautiful, big neocortex that we have that other animals don't have, and train ourselves to engage in that and just think a little bit more about what we're trying to do, sometimes produce better results.
So step one, know what you want. Not this one. This one. How am I going to capture your voice? So when you are looking at marketing agencies, we are an engagement marketing agency, but when you are looking at like promotion, social media, articles, you're trying to outsource that content creation process. One of the biggest challenges is capturing your own voice. So you can go to Fiverr right now and you can grab, copywriters who will go and research and come back with 1,000 words, 2,000 words, whatever. That is not your voice. That is like a blog post or an article that's for Forbes or a different magazine. But when you are trying to engage with people and really communicate with them and having them know you on a personal level, then your personality matters. So how do you outsource your marketing activities and keep your own voice? And so that's what we do. The way that we do that is we don't create content for you. We facilitate conversations exactly the same way that Paul and I are having conversations right now, the same way that you've seen me doing my I'm That Geek show, where we're talking to other experts and our viewers in real time. We're capturing those voices, we're getting the quotes, and we turn that into content so that we don't have to guess like, oh, you're going to use this word or that word, or there's a special way that you describe your process, or, trying to get into your brain. You're basically having a fantastic, mind-blowing conversation with people in your niche, and we take that and we turn that into content. And what's nice about that is like, A, we capture your voice. B, you don't have to create one piece of content ever again. You're just having conversations. We turn that into content. So you don't have to go and like, what am I going to talk about today? What do my viewers want to see? How do I capture their attention? Let me just talk to the video and see what works. Dump all that stuff away. Just come in, have conversations with the top leaders in your market, with your audience, with your viewers, with your followers in real time, solve their problem on the fly. We'll take that and we'll turn that into content that positions you as the thought leader in your market. So no
I
more.
love that. I love that you started with voice, and I have a bias as a former English teacher, right?
Yeah.
But I used to teach my students, like, when you teach them how to communicate in writing, right? We would say, here are these ways, like a traditional 5-paragraph essay, right? Has
Right.
a certain structure to it, right? And we would help them learn those structures. But the one thing we come back to over and over again is, if you really want to be, if you want to influence your reader, you've
Yeah.
got to have your voice come through. I think that's such a great place to start. Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and it's really important, right? Because it's so easy to just go to Fiverr or Upwork and find like a graphic designer to put quotes on a screen. But it's not you, right? It's not your brand. It's not who you are. Yeah. So, number 2. Ba-ba-bam. What is the benefit of working with you, Mr. Paul Ramsey?
Well, and it's never just one thing, right? But providing a contextual answer to that for the prospect, right? Because the reality is, whether you're coming to me for a hypnosis session or a coaching session or some sort of mentorship or training, like all of those things that I do, there's plenty of other people out there that do them as well, right? And so why me? Like, what's and so if I just say why me, then I'm making it about me. But I want the person to really understand the benefit for them of doing it with me. So that's where I think it's not as simple as that first question. It's that leads into a conversation, you know?
Right.
And what I've gotten good at over the years is being able to figure out, like, we start with the first one, right? What do they really want? And therefore, what would I do for them? And then why am I the right person to do that for them as opposed to someone else? And sometimes I'm not. Sometimes what they really want, the way that they would want it to get done, I'd be like, you know what? Really? I have a colleague who does this and they're really good at it. Like, I know how to do it, you know, functionally,
Yeah.
but it's not my thing. So why don't you let me send you to them?
And
You
that
know?
is so honest. And I love that about you, because that is, most people will be like, no, I need the money. Like, whatever, you know, just pay me and I'll figure it out
Need
as
the
I go.
results. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Need the results. That's the big thing, is helping people get the results protects your brand and your image.
Totally.
Right? So though sending someone to someone who's really going to get them a great result, they will still remember you as being a helper in that process. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and you might get like better referrals just because you refer them to someone else, because people start
Right.
to trust you.
Yeah.
As-
When you clarify what you really want referrals for.
Right, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. And so if we're jumping to me, what is the benefit of working with me? So I think we are one of my biggest challenges is explaining to people what I do. And the reason why it's a challenge is because it's very unique. Nobody is doing it the way we're doing it. So if you're going to a marketing agency, you will get someone to create articles and post for you and images and all that jazz. That's not what we do. We really focus on accelerating trust and relationships, because we really feel like once you have a big network and once you are building really strong relationships with people, then everything else kind of falls in line, meaning you will get referrals, your clients will get results because they trust you and they take action on it. People will see you and start talking about the things that you're doing, and things are going to start coming to you rather than you going out and chasing them. So it's very hard for me to say like, we're a marketing agency. We're not. We're more like accelerating trust and relationships, and that sounds very woo-woo. So the way that we accelerate trust and relationship is by using social media, live streaming video, branding, content marketing, communities, engagement, but that's not really what we give you. What we give you is a loyal audience of clients, of a loyal audience of people who love you, trust you, want to talk about you, and want to buy from you. And that you have the tools to do that. All the marketing agencies have tools to do that. We do it differently. And we have experience in doing that. So again, just like Paul, some people will come to me and I'll be like, you're not a good fit because you're just starting out, and we are working with people who have already been on their way. They already have an audience. They already have a high ticket item. They already have some systems and processes in where they can get clients and help them further. right? If you're just starting out, like we did yesterday, I believe, I'm like, go talk to Paul. Paul is doing amazing things, and you can get started with Paul. And then once you have your high ticket item, once you have an audience, then you can come to us and we can show you how to take that audience and actually engage it. So you can get more results, more reach, more visibility, more referrals, and more time, because we do all that jazz for you. So you don't have to learn anything. There's no learning curve when we work together. You just sit there, look pretty, have conversations with people, and we do the rest. But you do have to be at a certain level for us to work together. And I see you doing this.
Yeah, I mean, that's again, to me, I think one of the biggest things I see over and over again in small business in general, but particularly in my profession, and I've been guilty of this too, and I'm working on it with my small business mentees right now, is this thing again of trying to be too much.
Yeah.
Like trying to do too many things for too many people, and diluting what you do as a result of that, and really getting through, you know, the ego-driven stuff around that of like, but I can do it. Well, yeah, you can, but you're not. Like, and just you're so much better off just being honest about it. Like, I'm not pulling that off. But if I would just really focus on being great at this, I could be great at this. And wouldn't that serve me, and wouldn't that serve others?
And you know what? It's really funny because everybody wants to jump into the high ticket offers. Like, how do I have a high ticket offer, right? And when you're a generalist, you cannot have a high ticket offer, right? So if someone has a heart attack, you don't care how much the top surgeon costs. You just want the one person who specializes in heart conditions. That's it, right? And if that person also specializes in nose jobs, maybe that's not the person for you, right? Yeah, they can do both, but you want the specialized person.
It's so funny that you use that. I literally used almost that exact same example with one of my mentees the other day. They had a list of 6 things, and what they had on their site was, it literally said specializing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I was like, so just let me run it by you. I said, I'm not trying to be cheeky. I'm serious. Like, if you needed to get like if your heart was in rough shape and you need to get heart surgery, would you go to the doctor who at their website, it said they specialize in like nose jobs and plastic surgery and cardio issues and like
and athletic,
like feet stuff,
Why?
like, you know, like,
Why?
and they were like, yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. I'm like, of course you wouldn't do that. Like, so why are you trying to do it for other people?
Because we're so afraid. Like, I'm even in my world today, I'm like, who should I focus on? And you're so afraid of like losing the other side of the market. Maybe that other side is more lucrative and I don't know it yet, and I'm just looking at this side. The thing is, like, every market is lucrative, right? We talked about it yesterday. All you need is like 10, 20 clients and you're good, right? And then you have to start worrying about scaling, and that's another headache. That's another Pandora box. Yeah, so starting with small clients and like really, really specializing and being known in that market, and then drifting and shifting, that is easier for your mental health, for your business, for your flow, right? It's a lot less headache when you do that. But yeah, there is a fear around it, and I don't know, we'll get there. So what would you actually do if you work together?
So this is the one that I think I push people a lot for their sake. Mm-hmm. It's not so much as like a selling thing for me, but like a look, like, you should be asking this if you're going to spend your money, right? Like, and you want to have faith that this person knows what the hell they're talking about. They should be able to tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if they can't, like, that should be a red flag. Like, so if you've done if I've done a good job of having an intake process with a lead or a prospect, right? Mm-hmm. And I've come to understand what their challenge or problem is, what's the solution they really want or need, and am I the right fit for that? Then if I know what I'm doing, I should be able to say, okay, so if we're going to work together, here's what I would actually do. Right?
Right.
And lay it out. And if instead you're working with someone who goes, well, there's a few different things and we could, you know, and they give you this basically like BS generalized vague answer, that should be a huge red flag, because again, you want to work with someone who knows this thing so well that they shouldn't even hesitate.
Right.
Now, they might go, well, based on what you've told me, I see these 2 options or these 3 options, but then the options should at least be specifically described, right?
Yeah.
There are times with a client where I go, well, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a little up in the air still. Part of me feels like what I would do is blah, 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 right? But I describe it specifically. And I go, or I also see that you might get really good results from this, and I totally lay it out.
Yeah.
And then I might go, honestly, what's your first instinct? Which one feels better for you?
So
Right?
let them
But
choose.
still,
Yeah.
the description has to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, but I often fall into the trap of when they're going like, but how are we going to do this? And then I fall into the trap of like explaining the how. Well, we're going to do, you know, this process, but then how and how? And that's a big issue, right? Like I fell into this so many times that I've learned the how overwhelms people and they
Yeah.
get confused, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, no, I can't make a decision because I don't know this whole thing.
Yeah. And that's a great clarification. If I like you get to a point where, and I've literally done this with clients where I go, look, you don't need to know how electricity works.
Yeah.
You just light your house with it.
Exactly, right?
Right.
Yeah, I get to a point, I'm like, look, you don't want the how, you want the results. So let's talk about the results that you want, and I'll tell you what the steps in general are going to take us there. But the how, leave me the how, because we've done it many times before.
Right.
So, yeah, and so what we do for clients, when you say, like, what's exactly going to happen when you work with me? Well, you're going to get your branding done. You're going to get your guest done. You're going to get your email done. You're going to get your website done. You're going to get your program done. You're going to get your live shows running. You're going to get the branding of the show running, right? So these are things that you're going to get, but you don't need to know how we're going to get them, right? That's what we're talking about.
Right.
And
Great
when
example.
Right. Thank you. So, guys, when you go out and start looking and interviewing marketing agencies, coaches, consultants, hypnotherapists, people that can take you to the next level, it's very important to know the questions that you need to ask, right? And so we gave you a few questions today, like, hey, what are you going to deliver? How to know when I got results? That was Paul's first one. What do you want to get, right? And then if they can get you there. And what was the middle one? What is the benefit of working with us and not with someone else? Many times, a lot of people, you'll see they say, do as I say and not as I do, right? Like, let me get you all this engagement and I'm going to get you clients out of the wazoo. And you look at their stuff and you don't see anything. So being aware of how, you know, of marketing and results, 2 different things, right? You have to have the marketing to get the visibility out, but a lot of marketers don't have the results to back it up. So look at testimonials, look at case studies, look at referral, like ask your friends, right? Have you worked with this person before? And I think one of my favorite clients now, your friend, Tom Nicoli, he says, I just go with my guts. It feels right, right? So when you start working with someone and you go like, okay, they feel right to me, sometimes that's all you need to get started.
So Tom's a great example, right? I think of that as people listening in the audience don't like overstate or don't over accept that. Like when Tom says that, you know, Tom's been around for a while.
Yeah.
So Tom's got a point where Tom will ask questions and he knows the right questions to ask. And so he only needs to ask a couple. And so basically within having a conversation, because of the nature of what Tom does as a consultant and a coach himself, he can ask like 2 questions and basically know whether you're the person.
Yeah,
his
or-
gut is informed by his observational skills, right?
Yeah,
He
he's
doesn't just
fantastic.
walk in and like has a magical gut instinct. He's got a process that he's developed by now. Yeah.
But you know what? I've learned to trust my gut as well. When I talk to someone and something doesn't feel right and I don't know exactly what it is, I'm like, okay, well, let's just wait. Let's just wait and see what happens,
Yeah.
right? Take your time. So I'm learning that your gut kind of knows. If someone talks down at you, if you're wanting to talk to a coach and the coach is like, well, how come you don't know this? Well, how come you're doing this? Well, what gave you the idea that you're going to do that? Maybe not a good person to to coach you, right? You want someone to lift you up and not kind of show you how much greater they are than you. So, yeah. So Friday. Hopefully you guys get some ideas of how to choose the right person to work with. Because at the end of the day, we're all people. Yeah.
Well, so we live in this weird time, where when you think like there's competing things always, right? But think
Yeah.
about in our modern world, like on the one hand, we live in a world in which a lot of consumer decisions they're automated, right? Like
Yeah.
I need a new toilet brush. So I go to Amazon, I look at the 30 different toilet brushes they sell. I choose the one that the price seems fair to me and it looks okay, and I order it and it comes to me. There's no like talking to someone and going, how do I know this is the right toilet brush for me?
Well, but that's a low ticket item, right? That's a $10,
but again, but I'm
20.
saying like there are enough things like that. Like a lot of aspects of our consumer experience have become so like you just buy it and that's it, that I think there's enough of those things that what it does is it like trickles over into these bigger things. It's like it conditions us to sort of think, well, you just go get the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's a lot of people who are like even nowadays, like cars, right? A car is a big ticket item.
Right.
And it used to be that cars, you went and you haggled for your car.
Right.
Now there are active car dealership models where they say like, look, there's no haggling here. The price is the price and that's it, because they're working on a truly different business model where they're doing volume and they're trying to sell so many cars at a tiny margin. And so there is nothing to haggle on.
Right.
There are changes like that have occurred now where we don't think of buying the way we used to. And so I think sometimes now because of that, people don't even think that they can ask questions. They go, either you want this or you don't.
Right. It's such a great point, because when you go to the doctor, right, you don't think to ask the doctor questions, and you're like, well, they're the expert. Well, maybe they're not. They're human, right? And maybe they're giving you things that you shouldn't be taking, or
somebody graduated last in that medical school class.
That's true, right? Yeah.
Somebody did.
Yeah.
How do you know it's not yours?
Totally, right? What was that? It was the someone who's running for office now, who is like claiming to be like a MIT PhD, and now has all these like highfalutin questions and ideas about the coronavirus. And you're like, yeah, and everyone's like, see, he's a PhD at MIT, and I'm like, yeah. And
so and that's the this human stuff, right? As you go, maybe he's brilliant. Maybe he's very smart. Maybe he's also, you don't know. I don't even know who you're talking about. Maybe
so it's funny because all the papers,
right?
like if you actually read about him in Wiki and stuff, they're saying the papers have not been received and not been accepted because of lack of information and because his logic in connecting the dots wasn't there, right? But it doesn't mean that he can't choose the title MIT PhD
right?
and just be like, well, let me give you my opinion about something I know nothing about. Yeah, it happens a lot.
Like, that's why, again, like, do you want to get the guy who somehow managed to fumble his way through plumbing school?
Why?
And now he's working on your pipes? Like, do you, like, whatever it is, there's always someone who somehow managed to get through, and that's all they managed to do.
Yep.
And if you're not asking, you could be getting the one who just somehow managed to get through.
I'll tell you a story that, when we were in Cuba and we were taking a taxi to go from one city to another, I'm looking at the map to see where we were going, and I'm noticing he's taking the long route. There's like a highway that's like cuts it, and then and I'm like, he's not going the right way. Why is he taking this route? Why is he taking, and I'm like just talking to my parents in Hebrew. And my dad got so annoyed. He goes like, he's the driver. What do you know, Cuba? Do you know the roads? Why are you asking all these questions? Let him drive. And I'm like, but I don't understand. Like, why, So I speak Spanish and I'm like, sir, why aren't you taking this road? And he was like, oh, that's because it goes up the mountains and the car will not make it. because of the thin air. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. Thank you very much. I thought you were just like
There you
giving
go,
us,
right?
yeah, the scenic route. But I'm like, don't you want to know where you're going? Like, it's so funny to me that you'll just step into a taxi with you don't know anyone, and I trust you to take me there. I don't know. I don't. Maybe I'm one of the few people who are like in the Uber looking at the map, making sure they're actually.
One of my dad's stories he tells over and over again was when he went to Denver, Colorado for a convention, and he was in the hotel, and he and some of the people he worked with wanted to go out to dinner, and so they walked out the front door of the hotel, and there's the taxi stand, and they got in the taxi, and they said, take us to the such and such restaurant, and the guy was like, okay, and he drove him around, and then he dropped him off. And they went in and they ate dinner. And when they came out of the restaurant didn't have a taxi stand. So they asked the doorman, they said, hey, can we get a taxi back to the such and such hotel? And he goes, sir, it's right over there.
Oh
and
my God.
It was like 2 blocks away in visual sight. And so, like, that stuff happens,
Yeah, know thy way.
Some people will sell you something even if you don't need it.
That is hilarious. So happy Friday. Have a
Happy
fantastic weekend. Enjoy your course. We'll hear about your course in our Monday musing.
All right.
So, yeah.
Have a good weekend, y'all.
Have a good day.